Welcome in, everybody. This is Pro Football Plus. It is a privilege to have all of you on board. Austin here with us. Shane having a little bit of technical difficulties, but he's here with us on the audio side. We appreciate them being here with us as always. We are so loaded, okay? I know it's summertime, a lot of people on vacation, and it's supposed to be the dead time of football season. Not around here. We are doing a lot of legit top-heavy work and bringing it to you, and excited to do so. We have 6 wide receivers that we'll get into here in just a second. Before we do that, though, I want Austin and Shane each talk about what we're doing, what else they're involved in, and what else they might be doing in the upcoming summer. Austin?
Yeah, we've had a good run already of our sort of draft preview. Not just the 2026 draft, but we're dabbling in some 2027 guys as well. We've got a few this week at the wide receiver class, but we've already hit quarterbacks and we've got tons of other positions. So if receivers aren't your thing, keep hanging out. We're doing O-line soon. I think that might be our next position group. I'll tease that a little bit.
Thank you, Austin. Austin, tell everybody about Tricky Takes real quick as well.
Yeah, check me out on Tricky Takes. This is my podcast where we do football and baseball stuff. If you want, I think next week we should be doing our team of the month. Should be whenever the calendar turns over, we do a good MLB team of the month show. That's one of my favorite ones, so check that out.
Shane?
Well, I got to fill in for you, Ben, with our friend Robertson. Did a breakdown for the AFC East. And then something you and I have been working on, and we get to bring in another guest as well, and runner of his own show, Simon Short. We're going to do a breakdown for all 32 NFL teams. So not only individual players, but breaking down worst to first. And seeing where that plays out. It'll be interesting to get some of Simon's feedback. I know he's a big O-line guy as well, so looking forward to that coming in the beginning of July.
Yeah, exactly. Here in 2 or 3 weeks, me, Shane, Simon, we all love the offensive line. So we're going to rank all 32 NFL teams and get into some of the individuals as well, but mostly just the team perspective. So we're excited about that. And hang on. Tonight, we don't have any particular order for these receivers. We're bringing 6 of them to you. Again, we're getting you ready for the college football season because it's exciting and we love it, but we're also more importantly focused on the 2026 NFL draft. All right. So this is foundation work. Our opinions will change on these players, but this is the early work, just giving you a feel for what these guys can do and how good they are at this point in our eyes. We'll also kind of let you know where we might be thinking them in terms of what draft round we might be looking at them. And again, it will change, but this is got what we're doing tonight. We've got 2 of the smaller guys in tonight's group. Last time we did some bigger guys. This week we've got 2 of the smaller guys. We've got another big guy who's still a little raw we're talking about. I'll be excited about him. And then we just couldn't resist. There are 3 receivers who are so good, but they're not eligible until the 27 NFL draft, but they are so good. We had to talk about them. So we've got not 1, not 2, but 3 watch list guys tonight for the 27 NFL draft. So we have you covered. And again, Austin already mentioned this. We're doing 6 receivers tonight, but we already did 6 receivers a couple of weeks ago. That's already up on YouTube. And we did 12 quarterbacks. So if you're interested in the draft work or the college football side of it, either one, we've already got 18 players up, okay? Adding 6 more tonight. We got the offensive line coming up over the next month. We'll add in about, 13 to 14 offensive line players. And then in August, we're going to come back and do another 6 wide receivers, okay? So we are bringing it to you, and we are so excited to be doing just exactly that. Let's get to it. All right, that's enough chit-chat for tonight. I could talk all night. First player up tonight is Eric Singleton, who was at Georgia Tech, transfer portal over to Auburn. Height, 5'10", weight, 180. So not big guy, one of the smaller guys. 56 catches last year, 754 receiving yards, yards per reception, 13 and a half, 3 touchdowns. And they do like to hand in the ball some, or they did at Georgia Tech. 21 carries, 131 rushing yards, and a rushing TD as well. Austin, I'm going to give you first dibs on the next guy because I know you know who that guy is. I'll give Shane first crack at this one. Shane.
Okay, so for Eric Singleton, I think, like you said, Ben, the interesting is the type of usage he got at Georgia Tech. Not sure he'll get that same run the same way they did with Auburn, but the thing that stuck out for me is legit speed. 4.34, 40. I thought he had pretty natural hands. Does a great job tracking the ball. And I think that showed up in the way that Auburn's offense is going to operate. The big weaknesses for me is, again, as you mentioned, a smaller guy. Play strength did not show up for me on the film. And I also thought that his route tree was pretty elementary. But again, that's hard to tell. Is that an offensive thing or is that a pure weakness on his side?
Yeah, agreed. And that's something we come up with a lot on these prospects because this is what they're doing right now. Is that because that's really only their strength, or is it because that's what the program needs at the moment, right? So anyway, that's a great point. Austin, Eric Singleton.
Yeah, I mean, he may not have the best size, but I don't know if he's been told that. He plays like his hair's on fire and just goes out there and does whatever's asked of him. I really like, as you mentioned, his speed and his deep ball tracking. I think those are two things that jump out on the tape immediately. What I also really appreciate is how nice he is after the catch. I think he does some really good stuff with the ball in his hands, and that's why they got him in those sort of end arounds and things like that when he was at Georgia Tech. But I think this is a guy who is reliant on his speed a little too much, and it was really able to work at Georgia Tech because he is just faster than most of the guys at the competition level he's playing. We'll see moving over to the SEC how that plays out, and then we'll see. Obviously, once that he has to make that jump to the NFL, if it plays out, that's two big steps he's going to have to make soon. So, can his sort of ability to play above his size and ability to just win with a flat out speed all the time translate, and that's not something that's guaranteed to. So I'm a little bit nervous about that with him. I think he has some pretty fluid body movements. I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily wouldn't necessarily call him like a body control guy, like some of these guys we'll talk about later, but he does seem to move really smoothly, and I think that helps with his yak ability. And as I mentioned, he plays bigger than his size, both in terms of going up and getting the ball, but I think especially of like absorbing contact. Like the guy
Mm-hmm.
is really not afraid to lower his shoulder and deliver a hit or absorb contact when going over the middle. I think he does that really well.
Excellent work, Austin. Shane, I'm going to give you the last word here in just a minute, but let me rattle off my notes. Nothing that y'all didn't already talk about. He does look little on the field. He looks little. Like we know what his size is, but he even kind of on the football field looks smaller than everybody else. But I still love him. Georgia Tech loves to jet sweep him. That's why you see the rushing yards here. They love to pull him around on the jet. This surprised me. He did a lot of boundary comeback stuff. I mean, a lot. You see him out there on the boundary like a wideout, and it's just short comeback stuff. So he'll kind of threaten with his speed, and then all of a sudden jerk off and come back and catch that 10-yard little comeback bit. Did a lot of that. He can work his way downfield on post routes, and he can really go get it if you throw it out there. Right? You talk about getting enough air under it, and slinging it out there. He can go get it. He can outrun the defensive backs that way. He is shifty, works well in traffic with the ball. Good kick returner. I love his focus on the football. He is always dialed in. This guy is never not dialed in. Every second of every play, he is dialed in. So I love that. Love the attitude. Again, the size is probably what's going to weigh him down somewhere in the draft. We'll talk about that at the end of the program, where we might draft him. But I do love Eric Singleton. Love the work that he puts in. Shane, last word here on Singleton.
I think the big thing is what Austin mentioned. Tenacity is really his number one attribute. Like you talked about, Ben, with the comebacks and things like that. He attacks the job at hand. He goes hard through every single run he's got. He's also going after anybody that gets in his way. Um, you know, now 5'10" and 180, because of the just sheer genetic freaks that we talk about in this wide receiving group, that makes you small. But in even in the NFL, that's not tiny, and he's not 155. So it's hard to have that be the knock. But I think just like Austin said, when you look at it, especially even this group of guys that we're going to talk about tonight, you are on the smaller end, and some of the guys that are the same size as you just have scary potential. So, that drops him down. It's not that he's not a great wide receiver, but out of this bunch, he's one of the ones that didn't necessarily pop with reviewing the tape of the 6 we go over tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. If we're an NFL team, right, we invariably compare guys, but at the end of the day, if we're drafting somebody, it's what can they do for us. And so if we're looking at whatever round it is, what can Singleton do for us? He's going to get outshined by some other guys we're talking about. Matter of fact, I think one guy we're going to get to tonight just outshines everybody, statistics and everything. But again, when it comes our turn to draft, what can this guy do for us? Really is the important question to ask. All right, that's Eric Singleton, gone from Georgia Tech over to Auburn to play in the Southeastern Conference. Let's move over to another little guy, somebody that Austin knows intensely well, has some very mixed feelings on. KC, Kevin Concepcion, was at NC State last year, portaled over to Texas A&M. 5'11", 190, so a little bit bigger than Singleton, the guy we just talked about. I felt it was important to put down his 2-year statistic runs here, okay, for a reason. They were down in 24, so I didn't want everybody to look at the 24 stats and be like, well, is that all he put up? No, he popped in 23, and then he also produced in 24 as well. Also talk more about that in a second. But the 23 and 24 stats are 71 catches and 53 catches. The receiving yards were 839, 460. Yards per route, or per reception, 11.8, 8.7. 10 touchdowns in 23, 6 in 24. And then they used him a lot on the rushing side in 23, 41 carries, 320 yards, and then 19 carries for 36 and 2 touchdowns in 24. That's 2 years of production, with 23 being the bigger year. I've got a heat chart coming up for Concepcion, but I'll put that up while Austin is talking. Austin, I know you got some mixed feelings here about the situation, but take it away, man.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm going to talk a little bit more about his 2023 games. I was at every NC State home game in both the 2023 and 2024 game. So I did not watch any tape for this guy. This is some guy I'm very familiar with. I have seen basically everything he's done live, at least all of his home games. He is a tremendous athlete, not in terms of like height, weight, speed, but in terms of hand-eye coordination and fluidity and body control and agility. He has good enough peripherals, I think, that allow those to really shine. Like he doesn't necessarily get hawked down because he's too slow, or he doesn't get bodied because he's too small. He's just big enough and just fast enough to where those that body control, the hands, the hand-eye, the agility can all really shine with him. I like you've got the heat route, the heat map up. I think I would agree with some. I think he has actually, yes, his in breakers where he's crossing the face of the defense is so good because he's so natural against zone coverage, and he has such good football IQ and instincts and the ability to just sit in a zone or keep pressing leverage or get just enough depth. But I think he works back to the ball really well as well, especially on boundary throws. You talk about the comebacks with Singleton. I think that's something that was really underutilized with him at NC State, but he did very well when given the opportunity. He was also asked to run the ball a lot. He was even deployed as like a wildcat quarterback at times, and he was able to find success no matter what role he was asked to do, especially in this crazy 2024 season where NC State really floundered and just could not never get their feet underneath them. Um, I don't really have any notes. I'm just kind of going off vibes. I think he's a guy who I'm expecting to sort of have a bounce back year when he has a competent quarterback and coaching in A&M, and I'm hoping that we can really see him maybe develop his vertical passing game because I think he does have the ability to use his um, quick acceleration and football IQ to really use leverage and timing to beat guys downfield. Just not something that he was asked to do very often and doesn't necessarily have the most natural skills for. But I think his skill set's one that could allow him to develop because he's really good in the slot, but also used out wide a ton. I think he's very versatile, and I would love to see that versatility shine at A&M.
Shane, we'll get to you in just a second. I want to build off of what Austin said, and I want to talk about this heat chart too and explain it a little bit. Versatility, that was what popped out to me. Several things, but versatility. That's why I have him here on two sides of the field because they
Mhm.
used him on both sides of the field, and he seemed very comfortable on both sides of the field. I drew all the routes from one side, but he's over here a lot too, either side. So the red is all basically before the catch. The green is all after the catch. I mean, after the catch, he is huge on. He is so comfortable over the middle here on either of these kind of routes, but he can do this seam route. He can do the post route. He did the wheel route a lot. That wheel route is so freaking sneaky after
Mhm.
all of this junk in here, and he starts running out on the wheel. And then sometimes you could see it, especially goal line. They just threw him straight out to the flat here just for that little quick out that he could grab. He was so effective at that. They used him on jet sweeps around here. That's why you got all the green over here. And then it's all this loopy stuff here. That's him winding his way through traffic. Like, seriously, he has a brilliant middle of the field game, but he has the jet sweep. He can do the wheel route. He can do the out route. And I think you're right, Austin. I think he could do more of the outside work. They just didn't ask him to do it. So, anyway, that's the heat chart basically based on what he has done so far, not what he is limited to possibly being able to do. Shane, drop a load on us, man.
So I mean, to piggyback off Austin, seeing him in person for 2 straight seasons, and unfortunately seeing just a combustion of offense last year. Had a quarterback in place, and then everything fell apart there. The things that I jumped out on really is, and you guys have talked about already. I put route artist. I think he does a great job on his route tree. I also think that he does a really exceptional job of reading man and zone coverages and looking for that in between spot. The other thing I put down for him is after the catch. Like, some wide receivers can blow the guy's doors off and then you throw them the ball and it's a 70-yard reception, but really they ran straight, caught the ball, and it was really 20 yards altogether. With KC, I mean, he's catching 4-yard outs and turning that into a 96-yard touchdown because there was nobody else on the field that anybody else was worried about at North Carolina State this past year. I thought that he has really good hands, plays with an edge, and I thought also the bigger the game, the better he played. He's a guy that jumped out for North Carolina State. When they needed a play, he was the one that was going to come get it. You know, again, when we talk about size, he is on the smaller side. I didn't see an awful lot of blocking from him, but I mean, North Carolina State asked him to do everything else. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something that he's not really going to do. And I'll be interested to see, like, once we see the Texas A&M tape, if that changes, because I don't think he's scared of anybody. So it's definitely not a physical issue for him blocking, but I think sometimes they just ran him right into the ground. So if you're running jet sweep the opposite direction and he's just man to man and you just see him kind of patty cake with a DB, he just ran 160 yards 3 plays in a row. Maybe you want to give him a break. They just didn't have the players really to help him. And so I think he got it. You don't want to say overused, but I think he tired out towards the end of the year because every single game he was the only one that anybody was covering for North Carolina State.
Austin, I'm going to give you a final word in a second. I had a bunch of notes on Concepcion, but there's only one I wanted to add on here before you finish us off. He is so good at changing direction, seamless. He can almost change direction without losing any speed. And I said, some of the other receivers who I like, I didn't see as much of that from, but once he gets the ball, he seems so aware of how to just seamlessly change direction. I was so impressed with that as well, and that is a result of a lot of the after the catch stuff you see here as well. Austin finishes off on Concepcion.
I figured I'd talk about the negatives because there is a lot with him, unfortunately. I think he checks out and checked out frequently towards the end of the season and in a lot of these big blowout losses because I think he was asked to do a ton and he gets keyed in by defenses and gets frustrated and kind of checks out, especially when he's not necessarily the number one target on a play. He would take reps off frequently. I think he did have a problem with just being the well-known guy for the offense, and teams would blanket him. and do whatever they could to stop him from getting the ball, and it affected him. He didn't necessarily have any of those, or not many of those big time, hey, you thought you could stop me, but I'm just too good. He didn't necessarily have a bunch of those moments, unfortunately, which is something you like to see. And then the last negative I had was just as you mentioned, Shane, the blocking, and I think that also has to do with his just extreme usage. I don't think they wanted him to waste a whole lot of energy blocking. So that one to me is something I'm not necessarily worried about. I think that hopefully will develop at A&M, but those other two I do think are legitimate concerns and will are questions that have to be answered this year if he's going into next year's draft.
KC Concepcion. He'll be at Texas A&M this year for the Aggies, so keep an eye on him. Next up, totally different guy, Nyck Harbor. All right, Nyck is 6'5" and 235, and Nyck did track and field events very well. He ran the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 4x100 relay, another relay, a more indoor track. Very fast as well as being very big. He just recently, I forget, within the past year, 12 months, calendar months, quit doing the track and field stuff to focus on football. So he's still a little raw. 26 catches last year for South Carolina, 376 rushing yards, 14 and a half yards per reception, and 3 touchdowns. Shane, you're first up.
So the first thing I was going to mention is exactly what you hit on, Ben. This is the first time that he's not ran track during spring football, so we'll see how that helps him out. I mean, you have to talk about sheer size. It's the automatic thing that pops out. He's one of the first guys off the bus, if you're doing the swimsuit competition for sure. The thing for me, though, and you hate to say this because people have been after him for these type of things. This is a guy where I think the weaknesses way right now outweigh the positives for him. I mean, he has, athletic ability, doesn't really show it when he plays in a lot of ways. Plays very upright, drops. Again, it's a mixture. Is it concentration? Is it not catching as many balls as everybody else is because you're doing other things? Very limited route tree. I do think, though, that once he does catch the ball, he runs angry. He's a guy that doesn't necessarily look fluid in the route tree. I might, if he was playing for another team, talk about moving him to more of an H-back tight end position. I think he fits better in that. I put make or break for him. I think this year means a ton for him. This is going to be a very important year for South Carolina, and I also feel like it's a huge year for him. Just looking at those numbers, if you gave me 6'5", 235, and he runs a 4.24, and that's legit. I mean, he's ran real track, real timed, real times, and you told me that you only had 26 receptions and 3 touchdowns. You would have asked, when did he get hurt? Like those numbers do not show up against what he should have. And South Carolina has a quarterback. So it's not a case where, like, we looked at KC's numbers where North Carolina State was in trouble for most of the year. South Carolina ended up playing some pretty good ball, especially towards the end, and Nyck Harbor wasn't a big factor in that. So I think this is a huge make or break year for him. He's got a lot of loose ends to tie up. And actually, he was one of the films that I didn't really enjoy watching out of this group. I saw a lot of lack of concentration and drops, and his big plays are still there because he's huge. But he's a Superman that didn't play like Superman at all this year, especially when we're going to talk about some of these guys later on the list.
Austin, Nyck Harbor.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote DK Metcalf as the first thing I wrote down. He's that level of specimen on the field, if not greater than. I don't know if physically, as muscular, but in terms of the size and the aggression he plays with. You know the saying, he run like you stole something. I wrote runs like the other guy stole something and he's chasing after him
Mm-hmm.
is how he runs. Not that he stole something, but that someone else stole something of his and he's going to get them. Because he's just so imposing and wants to use his body to make you feel it. He wants you to know when you make contact with him, and I appreciate that. I wrote that he is. I put it as strangely fluid. He is, as you mentioned, Shane, pretty upright, but for how upright and stiff he should be, like DK is, he's not. He actually has
Mhm.
a sort of bend to his body and he doesn't have that robotic stiffness that you see with a lot of these super big guys who are really good straight line runners, track superstars. But he sort of has it's a bit awkward, but who was the tight end this year out of the small school? Not Arroyo.
Fannin out of Bowling
In
Green.
and
Fannin,
out.
thank you. Yes, Fannin.
Yep.
Sort of that like awkward, but like he's moving pretty good. It looks weird, but he's getting around. Sort of reminded me of that a bit. But yeah, there were a lot of negatives as you mentioned. I put he's inconsistent on deep balls. Not that he's bad at it, just really consistent in terms of like actually tracking the ball when it's sort of coming towards him. I put a limited route tree. He does not necessarily have a good feeling of zone and lets the ball into his chest all the
Mm.
time. I mean, that ball is bouncing off the chest plate of his of his sternum just all the time, and that's really unfortunate. He's basically, I mean, you mentioned it, man. Like at the top of this, like the opposite. Like if you want to talk about everything Casey Concepcion's good at, you're just talking about what Harbor's bad at, and then vice versa. I mean, they are just literally like two like they're yin yangs. Like they put them together and you have a full puzzle, a full circle. It's remarkable how polar opposite these two guys are.
Yeah.
If you had those guys into one player, I think they would be Jeremiah Smith, who we'll talk about soon.
Right. Yes. All right, Shane, I'll come to you for last word here in a second. My notes here. I love the size. I love the speed. How could you not, right? I like that his hands are capable in spite of how inconsistent they were. You could see at times that he can grab the ball. He just doesn't in a lot of cases. Very raw in everything, right? I agree with everything you guys put out there. He is raw in terms of routes, footwork, knowledge, you name it. He's raw. I mean, he is raw. One thing I did like, he can work anywhere on the field. So he's got the size and the speed. And Austin, you mentioned at the bend to work the middle, the boundary, the deep. He has that capability, at least from an athletic standpoint. There's nothing stopping that. Doesn't have a lot of what I would call football moves. And y'all both mentioned this, that he just looks a little awkward out there. He does. It's like he's not sure. Matter of fact, I even talked to a South Carolina fan a few weeks ago about this. There are times he just didn't know where to go. That's kind of how new at football he is, that he doesn't even know where to go on the field, right? So even in terms of football knowledge, he is raw. Goodness gracious. So just everything that he does is raw. And Shane mentioned make or break. I do want to see, now that he's had this entire off season, got a good coaching staff, I want to see how serious he was about developing his game. And that will tell us a lot, because there's nothing stopping him from being great other than how serious he's going to take this, right? So, him dropping off track and field several months back was a good indicator that he's taking it seriously, but still he's got to develop here. Okay, so lot to like here, but boy, is it raw. Shane, final word.
Well, I think like Austin said, the biggest thing that I got from watching film for him is he looked like a catcher with his pitch comm turned off. There's times where he was just catching fastballs in the chest left and right. And then unfortunately for him, the film that I reviewed right after him, as Austin said, was Jeremiah Smith. So you see a guy that has everything catch him against the chest, and you see a guy that dropped a single ball last year, and that happened to be the first ball thrown his way. Uh, and you mentioned again, Ben, I said in the very beginning, it's make or break for him. Hopefully this having a full season underneath his belt, only concentrating on football, hopefully he was just getting, catching 200 balls a day, things like that.
Right.
I think a lot of these things are fixable. But you got to put something together, or you're always just going to be that you're an athlete. And there's an awful lot of athletes in the NFL. If you're not good at something specific, you're going to be back out real quick too.
Totally agree. All right. All three of those guys have a very good chance of being in the 26th draft, depending on how their 2025 college football season goes. Okay, so keep an eye out for them. We could not resist, though. The 2027 group is so darn good. I mean, my gosh. And I like the 26 group, okay? Don't get me wrong. We're covering more wide receivers because I like the 2026 wide receiver group. But the 27 group is just jaw dropping, okay? Start with this guy, Jeremiah Smith, okay, out of Ohio State, 6'3", 216, and I don't even care. I mean, I care, but I don't care, okay? 76 catches for 1,300 receiving yards last year, 17.3 yards per catch, 15 touchdowns. I don't know why, but they even handed him the football 6 times for 47 yards and a touchdown. All right. So they can do anything they want there at Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith. Austin, I think, is it your turn to go first, man?
Yeah.
All right.
I,
Give it to us.
I don't really know what to say for this guy. He is exceptional at everything he does. I'm just going to go ahead and give a negative because I can only
Okay.
think of
Right.
one.
Right.
And I think talking about the one negative just tells you enough about the positives. And that's he's just too good that I think it hurts him sometimes. And what I mean by
Right.
that is like he's just so much bigger and faster and uh, twitchier and burst and understanding somehow, like even for as a freshman, understanding of leverage in ways that most guys don't understand. He just like is teleports to being open, and I
Yeah.
don't think it really lets some of the more nuances of the game shine. Like
Right.
I think that's one thing that I am hoping he can sort of show me this year that he does have some of these more nuances um, of playing receiver that are, dealing with like struggling a guy who is able to get in your chest if you're able to like brush him off or um, when a linebacker is sort of playing underneath and you have to like sort of just move to the slightly open spot. Like he was already there, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And that's I think also great coaching has a lot to do with that as well. But he has incredible hands, incredible size, speed, uh, like fluidity and body control, I think are two
Yeah.
things that are slightly underwhelming with him. But those are very minor nitpicks. It's not bad. It's just like not great level.
Right.
I think if I had to tell you like one thing about his game that I really adore is his ability to uh, sort of get on a line and stick to it. He doesn't do all that sort of bobbing and weaving that other guys have to do because he has the straight line speed just to say, hey, there's the spot. I'm going to beat you there and not necessarily have to dance around too much. And he knows exactly how to just pick an angle and just hit it and hit it fast and faster than you.
Yeah. Totally agree. Shane, go ahead and pile on here for Jeremiah Smith,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, so to piggyback off of Austin, I'll just give you a little rundown. As Austin mentioned, advanced route running for a freshman. Uh, Amazing hands. I mentioned early on, he dropped the first pass that was thrown to him that was on a tunnel screen that he easily would have had a touchdown for. And then he didn't drop another ball for the rest of the year. Um, Also, doing some extra research on him, I found out that he was also one of the Iron Buckeye Awards. So that's given to the strongest guys in the strength program. And he also, as Austin mentioned, with coaching and the lineage of wide receivers at Ohio State, he was the fastest person ever to lose his black stripe. So what Ohio State does is when you're a freshman, instead of having that crimson stripe that you can see in the picture that Ben has up, they wear a black stripe. And when you're called out in practice to have that stripe removed, it's when you've officially become part of the team. He's the fastest person to ever have that happen at any position, not just a wide receiver, fastest person to ever have that happen as an Ohio State Buckeye. Regardless if you like Ohio State or not, there's been plenty of talented players. So for you to have that, I think it sticks out. As Austin said, I kind of had to create a weakness because when I was watching tape, I literally wrote Haven't found a weakness yet. Maybe kryptonite.
Yeah.
But the weakness I put, as Austin kind of hit on, is live up to the hype.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith is going to have 2 seasons where everyone is going to go and try to find a weakness for him because he didn't demonstrate it yet. And this is what happens in the draft. You have a great year. Everybody gets a hold of you, and then they're going to look for the smallest minutia to be able to rip you apart. On the second Saturday, he wore red shoes when everybody else was wearing this. It's going to be something stupid like that somebody will write an article about to get some hits. I think, like Austin said, that the most interesting we'll see is how he develops. Because I think there are some elements of his game that are only going to get stronger just by the sheer fact that, he's not a freshman anymore. You get a year older, a guy we're going to talk about, probably next, Ryan Smith, you enter college football at 17. Like, he's not even an adult yet. What's he going to turn into? I feel like that's the same thing with Jeremiah Smith. The big thing for him, though, is that he has an adult body already. As Austin mentioned, 6'3", 216. The biggest key that I noticed in film, Austin hit on it, and I think he's dead on, is he runs his route regardless of what anybody else does. So he is going to break off the line. He's going to attack his point. The DB either has to decide, I'm going to try to run with him, which is a bad decision, or I'm going to try to out-physical him, which he pushed everybody else around. So, there wasn't a win for them. The other thing is, even with the talent at Ohio State, towards the end of the year, they shifted coverages to him right away. And he still didn't have a problem. For him, as long as the quarterback plays okay at Ohio State, he's going to have another huge year. We covered Tate before. He has a great partner. It was a struggle to find a weakness. Like I said, I felt bad for Nyck Harbor having to watch his film right after this. So
this is the bright shining light that it makes it almost unfair. Personally, this might be my number one wide receiver draft pick in any draft, but especially when the draft he's coming out in. We can talk all night about him. I'll be quick on Jeremiah Smith. I nicknamed him BPO. It's big plays only. It's like every time he touches the ball, it's chunk plays, man. There's no grinding here. It's just chunk. Just go turn on the YouTube highlights, man. Just do that. It's almost laughable. Sometimes in the same game, 2 or 3 chunk plays, chunk touchdowns. You're like, are they ever even going to bother guarding this guy? Oh, wait, they're trying to. It's just not working. It's absolutely sick to watch him play. He's not just a big guy who's kind of fast. He is big and physical and fast. He has all of that. He can do it deep. There's really no need to do him short, and there's no need to do jet sweeps with him. It's fine if you want to, I guess, but nobody can guard him downfield. Keep running him downfield, man. He can do all the downfield stuff. One little thing I'll nitpick on, and it's a joke to nitpick on it, all right? It's an absolute joke. I did notice in more than one game, he likes to use his hands to shove off, and you saw that arm extension. The reason for it is the only way to guard him is just get up in his grill and hope that you can aggravate him a little bit. That's why he's trying to push off, is these defenders are trying to just smash up his route. That's not working either. Who knows? Maybe he might get not in college, he might get, at the NFL level, he might get a offensive foul call for that. It's ridiculous. It is so silly to watch this guy play. He's got 2 more years in college too. So, Austin, you can finish off Jeremiah here.
I just put a comp for him. Randy Moss plus 20 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah. And the positives and the negatives that come with those 20 pounds, he's not quite Moss levels of explosive.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he's that plus 20 pounds of strength that Moss didn't have. But yeah, Randy Moss plus 20 pounds is a good comp, I think.
Agreed. All right, let's Jeremiah Smith. We'll stop drooling over him and move on. There are other good receivers to talk about. Here's one of them. Most of you watching, you've seen this guy, Ryan Williams out of Alabama. Not a big guy, but amazing. All right, 6 foot, 175, 48 catches for 865 yards. He's 18 now, but he was 17 last year when he was playing, which was ridiculous. 18.1 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns, and then 4 extra carries for 48 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. we'll just give everybody one turn, no final word here. Shane, you're first up here on Ryan Williams, who, by the way, is on our 2027 watch list. He will not be in the 26 draft.
So I think the most important thing you already mentioned had been 17 years old last year. Skipped his senior year to go right to Alabama. Big play is the first thing I wrote. I think his hands also show up. You have a picture of there at Tennessee. If you have a game to watch, he makes two absolutely amazing catches against the Vols. If I was a Vol defensive back, I probably would have just given up right then. Again, another guy, not a ton of weaknesses. I put down, you see some difficulty route running. I think, again, it's just youth. I'm sure in high school, the coach just told them, we're going to throw the ball, you catch it, we'll take care of the rest. Alabama's offense last year did not look good either. So I'll be interested to see if he picks up some of that extra thing. The other thing I put is, and again, I don't know if this is a mixture of age and size, but I worry more about him injury-wise than some of the smaller wide receivers we even talked about. Hamstring issues, some other small things. But, if you're talking about jumping on a YouTube wormhole, some of the plays that he has in his repertoire are absolutely amazing. And some of those don't even count. He has plays that got wiped away at Alabama that are probably more freakish than the ones that he scored on. I would be really interested to see if he could. So Austin mentioned for Jeremiah Smith, if you put on 20 pounds on him, if Ryan Williams was about 6 feet, and even if he puts on 10 pounds where he's in that 185 to 190 range, that puts him in a different realm too. And I'm sure he's going to put some weight on. Yeah, I don't think his speed will break down that much, but hands is what I put. I think he has outstanding hands, probably some of the best hands in the class.
Awesome.
I put you could throw him on the Jets and replace him with Garrett Wilson, and I'm not sure anyone would notice. It's scary. And Garrett Wilson at the time when I watched him was my favorite player, favorite receiver I'd ever watched. And I did absolutely everything I could to get him on my football team, on my dynasty fantasy football team. But yeah, it's uncanny to me, the similarities between Ryan Williams and Garrett Wilson. They're around the same height and weight, I believe. They have extreme body control that is just otherworldly. Like it just feels like they know exactly where every atom in their body is at all times and what they need to do to keep that center of balance directly over his legs. Like he just always seems to have that ability to stay upright, even though he is slender. I think his route running is really good for his age on the intermediate and deep stuff. I think the short area stuff could use a little work. I think he tracks the ball, the deep ball really well. As you mentioned, he has fantastic hands. Again, there's not too much to nitpick here. There are not too many weaknesses. I do have a few nitpicks though. I don't think he gets off the line very well, especially against bigger guys. I think he's doing too much of the I'm gonna go full like old man mode here. TikTok-y and his releases, and it takes him a long time to get off the line sometimes because he's just dancing too much. I'd like to see him incorporate some of those uh, more quick bursts off the line because he's got the burst. I just think he needs to sort of learn how to do it better. And that's definitely something that will come with age. Again, guys, stupid young. And then I mentioned short route running. I feel like he doesn't sink his hips super well for some reason. I think he's just so naturally gifted at running laterally and start and stop that he doesn't necessarily drop all of his weight and really break when he could. And I think that's something that he will absolutely pick up on over the next 2 years. And if he figured those out, he's literally just Garrett Wilson and prime package ready to be a star NFL receiver in a year or two from now.
Austin, I noticed something similar to you, but I'll get back to that in a second. I just called him the prodigy. I heard one of the announcers say it. I mean, that's what he is. At 17 to be doing this kind of nonsense. That's what he is. He is so fast, both before the catch and after the catch. I didn't see anybody catch him. He just literally runs away from everybody, right? So before the catch, when he's doing his routes, he can run away from people covering him. After the catch, when he's got the ball, he just runs away from people that are trying to catch him, right? Nobody's catching him. Fast, fast, fast. He is 6 foot, which is not the 6'3" that we just looked at, but he's still going to be so amazing. He won't be the 6'3" amazing, but he'll be 6 foot amazing. He is fantastic. The body control is insane. It is almost a joke on some of these plays, the body control that he somehow exhibits to land in bounds or to catch a football. It is an absolute sick joke. The body control he's got, the acrobatics, the great hands. I like the way he stops and starts. I like that just fine. But this is where I saw something similar to you, Austin, not on route running, but when he has the football, he doesn't change direction as well as, say, Concepcion. Concepcion is so smooth at that. Ryan Williams, when he tries to change direction, loses a lot of speed. So, again, I don't know why that is, but I did notice that when he's got the football, he does not change direction as well as, say, Concepcion does, even though he's faster than Concepcion. So, love Ryan Williams to death. Again, go watch the highlights on YouTube. You will just laugh at some of these plays. They are that good. All right, that's Ryan Williams, Alabama, coming to a 2007 NFL draft near you. Our last guy tonight, we'll be quick on him, Bryant Wesco, also on our 2027 watch list. He won't be in the 26 draft, he'll be in the 27. We just loved him too much to leave him out for this college football season. He is 6'2". He is 180. He plays for Clemson. They're going to be really good on offense this year if you haven't figured that out by now. 41 catches last year for 708 yards and 5 touchdowns. Shane, you're up first on Bryant Wesco.
I think what Clemson's offense is going to be this year is really dependent on his ability to just blow up this season. I think run after the catch is truly amazing for him. I put that he was a true athlete. You can see the athletic moves in everything he does. You know, is he going to blow by you right away? Not necessarily. I thought that he has decent agility, makes good moves. The thing that was hard for me, though, is when I looked at his weaknesses, catch consistency. I thought that his hands were okay, but I think it's a focus issue. And then being young too, football IQ. I found that he got himself in a lot of trouble play wise, where he probably could have made the easy play, and he made it more difficult for himself and the quarterback in that situation. But he is also the carbon copy of a Clemson wide receiver. You want him to be about 6'2", 180, have pretty good speed, athletic, and big hands. And that's exactly what Bryant Wesco is. The plus side for him is his dad was a multiple-time All-American triple jumper, so he also has some other just flat-out athletic talent in those genes as well. I think he's going to play a bigger role for Clemson. You know, it's hard to say. You have 41 receptions and 700 yards, but I think he's going to get an expanded run this next season. The biggest thing, like I said, catch consistency. You watch the tape, and there's just some times where you go, oh, man, you had 7 catches. You could have had 11 and, 2 touchdowns and 210 yards instead of 89 and 10 catches, Those are things that I would look for in the next. And it wasn't a talent issue for him at Clemson. He was playing on a good all-around team. So they didn't ask really a ton from him, and he showed out last year, and I think he has a great chance to have an even better season this year.
Austin?
He reminds me a lot of young Travis Hunter. The body and the movement skills, and also number 12 just happens to be a coincidence, but he moves like Travis Hunter, and that is a great compliment, even though Travis Hunter isn't necessarily known for being this like elite mover. It's hypnotic and smooth and sudden at the same time. But basically all the pluses that were talked about with Travis Hunter when he was first coming over to Colorado after spending that year at Jackson State and then coming to Colorado. I think all those talks about how, oh, he's a better corner. He has all this development that needs to be done as a wide receiver, and then bam, it happened that last year, and he goes out and wins the Blitnikoff and the Heisman. I could see the same thing happening for Bryant Wesco. He can figure this out in the next 2 years and be the
Yep.
best receiver in college football. It is absolutely in the cards with him. Now, those two guys we talked about before are going to make that real tough. But he absolutely, I think, has the skill set to do it. He does need to develop more. I think he showed the most freshmanisms out of the other three guys we talked about today. Just mental errors, clearly not understanding what the defense was trying to do, and letting them sort of just dictate what he's doing for him and taking him completely out of plays at times. So that sort of mental side of the game is something that does absolutely need to be developed and learned with him. But from everything I've seen, he is an exceptional clubhouse guy and a workaholic and somebody who really loves football. So that those are all big pluses for someone who I think will be able to learn what he needs to learn. And as his body matures, he could, like you said, Shane, he's got some really good genes. He could become a freak because if he adds just a little bit more speed, because I think his speed is maybe physically his biggest weakness. He's just like average speed wise, maybe slightly above average. But if he could get just a little bit quicker, I think he could be a real demon.
I'm going to come back to each of you in a second. I want at least the three players in next year's draft: Concepcion, Harbor, and Singleton. Where you might be thinking about them, which round of the draft. You can throw in you can throw in the three watch list guys too if you want, just for perspective. But at least those three guys. My notes on Bryant Wesco reminds me of a classic '80s NFL wide receiver, long and fast. Again, not uber quick and fast, but still got the long speed, and the way he kind of moves his body around reminded me of that. Post routes, seam routes, big plays, very smooth. I really liked how smooth he was. I didn't see him doing a lot of work over the middle. In fact, he doesn't even seem to like working over the middle that much. He seems to love the space. The big, long space really seems to be where he just loves to work out there, kind of one-on-one. What else here? He has an electric cut. After he catches the football, I saw this more than once, catch the football, he's got this kind of one-step long kick that he does that shifts him immediately away like 3 yards from the guy who's trying to tackle him, and he almost walks into the end zone at times. It's kind of an unusual move.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, like you said. So he's got that electric cut, and yeah. Listen, he's young, but do not, like y'all said, do not leave him out of that top echelon of wide receivers this year, next year, any year. He's good enough to be up there mentioned with the best in class. Just needs more work. So, all right, that is Bryant Wesco. Real quick, Austin, you go first. What rounds might we at this point be thinking about these guys?
Okay, right now, not assuming anything of this next upcoming season, Nyck Harbor is
Right.
a day 3 pick to me. He's like around maybe sneaks in late round 3, late day 2, but he's a day 3 guy, 4th or 5th round developmental guy. That's just where he's at in terms of his ability. Uh, I would go Casey Concepcion, probably a late round 2 guy right now after what we saw the last season, but what we've seen that is possible with his freshman year. I think a late round 2, early round 3 guy, so like middle of day 2. And then Singleton, I would put back into the first round right now. I think he has such a high floor with that speed as a deep threat. Um, I think he's got a really high floor. Maybe not the highest ceiling, so I see him being like a really late first round guy, 27th pick or later.
And again, if you're in the audience and you're screaming at us, please don't. We've got a full year ahead. We're going to change our mind on these guys, okay? We do this to give you perspective. And the big reason for it is, I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, I've heard people wax poetic about players only to say, I draft them in the 4th round. I'm like, well, wait a second. There's got to be a reason you got them in the 4th round, okay? So we give you the positives, the negatives, and roughly where we're thinking about them, however we want to project them. Shane?
Yeah, I'm gonna be pretty close to dead on with what Austin said. I put Harbor 5th or 6th round. Uh, Casey Concepcion, I put second, solid second. I think he's going to show out again this year, and I think he has a lot of talent. And you're going to get a team that's going to get into that and go, hey, we can move him in the slot. He can just play slot for us. We got other guys that can do that, and I think that the team that's looking for that is going to move him up the draft board. The last one, Austin, I agree with this again. But what I wrote down for Eric Singleton is some team is going to love him and move up in the draft to not let him go to the second round. So if you have a late pick, 27, 28, 29 through 32, somebody's going to make a move, I think, to have him be one of the last wide receivers in the first round. If not, he's going to be second pick, first pick in the second round. The speed is just scary. And as much as when we're going over this, we love to hit on the route tree, the more you watch the NFL, the less they care about it. If you can outrun somebody, we're going to find a way to get you the ball. You know, it's a little bit like Austin mentioned, Travis Hunter. If you can get open and you can get the ball, we're going to figure a way to do it for you. The other one that makes me think about that when we're talking about like Casey Concepcion, he has like a Travis Kelce element to him where he understands that the route says run a drag, but if that means he's 3 steps off of where he should be, he's made that decision because he's going to be easier to catch the ball and then make 3 moves to get a touchdown. That's why I said I think somebody's going to fall in love with him and he's going to move up too. You know, the thing for us is like you look at those guys that are on the next round draft. People are going to tank for a wide receiver, which is going to be crazy to think about.
All right, y'all gonna laugh at me, but that's okay. That's why the audience tunes in. I've got all 3 guys in the second round. Okay, I actually like Concepcion better than Singleton. I know Singleton's faster. That's pretty obvious, right? But Concepcion does so many different things so well. I wouldn't draft him first round, but boy, it's somewhere in the second round, man. I'm thinking about that guy. I'm like, boy, I can use that guy, right? So I love Concepcion. I do like Singleton too. I've got him late second round right now. I just didn't see enough besides the speed. The speed is there, and y'all are right. Sometimes that's all that matters. Nyck Harbor, I included a lot of projection here, obviously, okay? I'm going to assume that he's going to work this offseason and get a whole lot better. I know y'all are projecting right now. I went ahead and kicked in some projection. That 6'5", what was it, 235, and the speed was just too good for me to resist. Okay, there's a lot coming here. I know people are screaming at us. Where is Zachariah Branch? Where's Jaden Greathouse? Where's Elijah Surratt? Where's Evan Stewart? Where's the third Clemson receiver? They're all coming. Okay, we just don't have time to do everybody yet, but they're all coming all this summer and even early into the college football season. They are coming. Shane, Austin, that's excellent work tonight. Thank you so much for all the detail on all of these guys. Have a great one, everybody. We will see you next time. Goodbye.